Good evening, everybody. I'm Dr. Joseph Baker from the Limber Chiropractic Center, and we're going to be talking about the 21-day week. Now, I know a lot of you have heard this in my office this past week, this title being bantered around, and you probably got a lot of questions. What in the world is going on with a 21-day week? Well, tonight we're going to answer that question for you. In fact, if you're like a lot of people, well, you oftentimes ask yourself, where did the time go? I could hardly believe that the day is gone, and I still got a list of stuff that I needed to do that I didn't get to do. So what we're going to do tonight, and this is a little bit different of a workshop, is we're going to talk about some functionality things that are going to give us the freedom to make sure that we do everything that we want to do. Now, let me say that word again, that we want to do. This is not just about, solving the problems of making sure that we do all the things that we need to do, but the stuff that we want to do. As parents, if you have kids around, as well as I do that, hey, listen, all of a sudden your time just gets gobbled up and everything that you wanted to do for yourself never happens. That's a problem. Tonight we're going to talk about how we're going to help ourselves solve those problems so that in the end we feel filled up, we feel rejuvenated, we feel like we can give to others, and in turn we can come back and do it again and again and again. Now, I have to say, and I give a lot of credit, I've learned this over the years from a number of different individuals who've spoken into this conversation. I don't want anybody to think that this was my own idea. I just recognize that I've had the blessing of utilizing this process for over 20 some years now, going on about 22 years, and I've benefited from it immensely. And I know if it's helped me in my daily life, well, I know it's going to help you too. And I'm going to tell you that, the more you invest into this, absolutely the more you get out of it. So let's dig into this for a second. And I got to tell you, the first thing is like anything else, we got to have the discipline. We know that we have to do some things in order to actually understand what we need to do. So part of it is this learning process. In fact, I want to compliment you. You're doing something that only 10% of the United States public actually does. And that's educate yourself. See, the sad thing is most people are out there, they don't do the first thing of actually improving their position. They don't educate themselves. Listen, if we want to drop anchors, if we want to release weights that are holding us back, we got to learn some new things. And in this case, it's not a matter of just learning new things, but also taking inventory of the things that we do. Now, for some of you, you're scratching your heads. It's okay. Don't worry. At the end of this workshop, we're going to do a couple things. In fact, I'm going to tell you right now, I always ask our patients, because this is part of the process here in the office, like this video. You're going to leave me a comment. In fact, tonight's comment, the takeaway that I'm going to ask for you is to leave me a question. Leave me a question about part of this process that you're confused about, that you feel like you need help of answering, so that we can get you some of that additional information. All right? But the third thing is to make sure that you share this. Share this amongst your friends. Share it amongst your family members. On Facebook, hit the share button, which just simply puts it out there for your friends and family to be able to learn just like you're learning now. Listen, I just had a compliment tonight on a presentation that we recently did, and the individual was just so tickled that in such a short period of time, the information that she learned had changed some of the things that were going on in her life. And the one thing I recognized that in that moment, it's a matter of not keeping it to ourselves, but actually sharing it with others so that others can experience that same level of joy that we get to have on a regular basis. So the first thing is to recognize, as we do this hard work, as we put forth this time and this energy into this process, well, here's the really cool thing. It's going to give us freedom. Now, I love that because time is that valuable commodity that you and I don't ever get back again. So if we're wasting time and spinning our wheels, doing stuff at the wrong time of the day and in the wrong order, problem is that we're shooting ourselves in the foot. And we have that lost opportunity of using the time for the things that it should be dedicated for. So I'm going to encourage you, this is not a once and done project. This is a process that you're going to work through, that you're going to continue to refine and recognize life changes. There are different seasons in life. So as you maybe, retire from full-time work, maybe you have kids that leave the house. Maybe you have kids that actually go to school. What a fantastic thought. Here's the thing. It means that you have the opportunity of reallocating time and actually giving yourself the ability to do more things that need to be done and that you want to do. So let's jump into how it is that we actually funnel 21 days into a 7-day week. I love this picture. I think this it answers so many questions for so many people. If we think of the different parts of our day and we divide them up, and we're not going to go through the times, we're just simply going to talk about them right now. But there's 3 very unique times in our day. There's the us time, the stuff that we do in order to build ourselves up, to feed this body of ours, to feed our soul, and to make sure that, we're taking care of that most important thing, us, so that we can serve others. And that brings us to the second bucket. It's the others bucket. It's the them bucket. Generally speaking, that's when we present ourselves and we go to work. Whether it's moms at home caring for kids, whether it's moms and dads leaving the home in order to go to a workplace, it doesn't matter what that location is. But as we're serving others, that's that them time. Now, finally, there's a third bucket. And that third bucket is the us time. This is our family time. This is when we come back together and we spend time as a family unit and regroup and have those moments of connection. Now, I'm going to tell you, each one of these times is super important throughout the course of our day. And in fact, probably one of the really big takeaways for some of you is going to be, how do I create these buckets so that, the them doesn't get mixed up with the either me or the us, or vice versa, where us doesn't affect the them or the me. Because here's the problem. If we are not keeping things in these proper lanes and putting them into the right buckets, something's got to give. There's going to be that conflict that arises. And let me just ask you, listen, you're all big people out there. If you're watching this, I know that you already have things that you're addressing and working on physically. But listen, why would we want to address conflict on a personal or relational level? Not what we want to do. So, like anything, if we put things at the proper time and leave them in the proper buckets, listen, everything just runs a whole lot more smoothly. Now, for some of you, you might have already decided, oh my goodness, you know what? I need to just simply take the time and figure out, what are those things that would be in the me bucket? Well, let me give you some suggestions, all right? Your personal care. You bathe, you shower, you brush your teeth, things like that. You meditate, you pray, you read, you do your exercise or yoga, whatever it might be. But it's those things that are really identified that truly benefit us. whether physically, mentally, emotionally. All of those things are included in the me bucket. Now, the then, like I said, this is where we go and we serve others, where we get the opportunity of actually, digging into the workplace, earning those dollars. But, it's time when we're spent with, largely non-family members. Now, the us things might be, hey, listen, that family dinner, that thing that we should all have together on a nightly basis. The time when we sit and we watch TV or we play games together, or we take those moments to connect with other family members outside of our family circle, immediate family circle. Those would be those type of things that would be in the us column. You might have decided that, I need to start looking at what is in those buckets. Well, let's do this. When we talk about feeding ourselves, this is probably the most important part of this entire process. And for me, I'm going to explain it very simply. I know in life, and some of you have learned this the hard way, if you're not caring for yourself, if you're not feeding yourself, how could you ever serve others? See, sadly, so many people just lose sight of the fact that, hey, listen, if everybody else comes first. It's the mom mentality. I know, and sometimes dads have that same mentality too, where they look at it and I got to make sure that the kids are taken care of. I have to make sure that my spouse is taken care of. And yet we forget that sooner or later, if we're not maintaining ourselves, breakdown is going to occur. And sadly, some of you have been there, where you've crawled through this, the front door of this office. And sadly, in those moments where you can't do the yard work, you can't cook dinner, that somebody has to step in and take on that role for you until you're back up on your feet. Listen, I don't ever want anybody to get there. So when I recognize the bigness of it, I'm hoping that I can convey that enough that you take this as that one of the most serious things that you're going to consider when you divide up your day. Now, from there, yes, we serve others, and it's the workplace, all right? And then finally, as we look at this family time, listen, I hold this to be sacred. My friends know that when I walk through the door of the house, very rarely do I answer the phone. Very rarely am I looking at a text message, because I recognize that we have but a few hours together. And there's a shut off for work, there's a shut off for friends, and there's a time for just families to be together. We have rules of engagement, we have rules that we follow. Some of you might have to learn how to absolutely put your technology on hold, to turn it off, to hit that silent button. I have some friends, all their cell phones just simply go right in the drawer. I know at work, we do exactly that. And during the course of the day, in the first thing in the morning, all of our cell phones are dumped into a drawer. They're put away so that we could focus on that next most important thing, which is serving others while we're in our office. So, I know at this point, there are probably questions that you have. I want you to pause. I want you to think about it for a minute. Because here's the thing. In the moment of asking those questions, you're not only helping yourself, you're helping others. In the moment of getting that clarity, it allows you to unlock some of those secrets and preserve some of that time that allows you to do the most right thing at the absolutely right time. Now, I'm going to encourage you not to push forward. In fact, as we get to sit back and answer these questions, we're going to talk about some of the different things that come along with it. We're going to talk about some of the actions that I personally take in day one in order to make sure that, I'm taking advantage of all the time that I have. The systems that I put in play to make sure that by the time that my team walks through the door, by the time that we open our front door in order to serve our patients, that I know that I've hit all my check boxes, that I know that everything that I needed to accomplish for the day was already completed to make sure that I've served myself. And from there, I get the opportunity of serving others wholeheartedly without any stress involved. So the question now is, what questions do you have? I love the fact that we get to keep this to a shorter workshop, because we are going to break down some of these different segments in future workshops to help answer some more of these questions. And in fact, like I had said in the beginning, liking this information is one thing. Leave me that comment. When you guys leave those comments, that's how we produce other videos. That's how we produce other workshops to help continue the learning and the educational process. But finally, share it. Listen, I don't need you to share this information for me. You don't need to share this information for you. But what I do know is that there are people out there that don't have the opportunity of hearing this information, of getting exposed to these better choices, if you don't do it. I know that I'm doing my part by presenting the information. I'm asking you to do your part by just simply sharing it. I'm Dr. Joseph Baker from the Limerick Chiropractic Center. You have a good night.